The doorbell rang at 6:43 a.m. on a Saturday morning. I wasn't expecting anyone, especially since my husband James was away on a business trip to Chicago. When I opened the door, I found my in-laws, Robert and Margaret Sullivan, standing there with their 3 grandchildren, Lily, 8, and the twins, Tommy and Emma, 6. "Good morning, dear," Margaret chirped with unusual brightness. Surprise. The children looked tired and confused, still in their pajamas. Robert was unloading suitcases onto my porch, far too many for a casual visit. "We have an emergency situation," Margaret explained, already ushering the children inside. "We need you to watch the kids for the weekend." "Wait, what? Where's Amanda?" I asked, referring to their daughter, the children's mother, who had disappeared 6 months ago after a messy divorce. "Oh, we're meeting her," Robert said vaguely. "Family business. Very urgent. You understand." Before I could protest, Margaret was rattling off instructions. "Lily's allergic to peanuts. Tommy needs his inhaler before bed. And Emma won't sleep without her purple unicorn. Everything's in their bags. We'll be back Monday." They were back in their luxury SUV and driving off before I could form a coherent response. I stood in my doorway, watching them speed away, 3 confused children and 5 oversized suitcases now in my possession. "Grandma said we're having a sleepover," Lily announced, trying to sound brave for her younger siblings. I pulled out my phone to call James. He answered on the first ring. "Hey, we need to talk about your parents." "What did they do now?" He sounded tired. His relationship with his family had been strained ever since Amanda's disappearance and the chaos that followed with her ex-husband. "They just dropped off the kids, said they're meeting Amanda somewhere." Silence on the line. "Then, that's impossible. Amanda's credit cards were last traced to Mexico. They know that." Something felt very wrong. But I had 3 children staring up at me with uncertain eyes. "I'll handle this," I told James. "Just come home as soon as you can." The weekend stretched into a week. Every call to my in-laws went straight to voicemail. Their house sat empty. I drove by twice to check. James cut his business trip short, but even his corporate resources couldn't locate them. 2 weeks in, we received a letter from their lawyer. Simple and devastating. "Robert and Margaret Sullivan hereby grant temporary guardianship of Lily, Thomas, and Emma Matthews to their son and daughter-in-law, James and Sarah Sullivan." "Temporary, my ass," James muttered, pacing the kitchen after the kids were asleep. "They planned this. But why?" The why started becoming clearer when Sullivan Global Investments, James's company, discovered irregularities in its accounts. Robert, as CFO, had access to everything. The initial audit revealed discrepancies, small ones at first, growing larger over the past year. Meanwhile, life settled into a new normal. I quit my job as an architectural designer to care for the children full-time. They needed stability, routine, and love, especially after their mother's abandonment and now their grandparents' disappearance. Lily had nightmares. Tommy developed anxiety. Emma didn't speak for 2 weeks. We found them the best therapists we could afford, adjusted our lives around their needs, and became the parents they desperately needed. James was promoted to CEO when his father's financial manipulations came to light. The company was hemorrhaging money, investors were panicking, and the board needed a Sullivan they could trust. 6 months in, we legally adopted the children. No one could find Amanda to contest it. The kids started calling us Mom and Dad. We moved to a bigger house, enrolled them in new schools, and built a life together. I found my calling in raising these 3 beautiful, broken children. Lily's nightmares became less frequent. Tommy joined the soccer team. Emma's voice came back stronger than ever. They were healing. We were healing. Then, exactly 2 years after that early morning doorbell, my phone rang. "Mrs. Sullivan, this is Detective Morris with Interpol's Financial Crimes Unit. We've located your in-laws." I sat down heavily in my home office, where I'd been reviewing Lily's college fund options. "Where?" "Dubai. They've been living there under assumed names. We've tracked approximately $18 million in embezzled funds from Sullivan Global Investments." My hand shook as I took notes. Dubai, 18 million. All this time. "There's more," the detective continued. "During our investigation, we uncovered some irregularities regarding the children's birth records." My heart stopped. "What kind of irregularities?" "The birth certificates filed by Amanda Matthews appeared to be forgeries. Very convincing ones, but forgeries nonetheless. We found evidence suggesting the children were purchased through an illegal adoption ring in Eastern Europe. The room spun. I thought about Lily's blonde hair, so different from Amanda's dark curls. The twins' high cheekbones and olive skin that never quite matched any family photos. The timing suggests Robert and Margaret Sullivan were involved in the illegal adoptions, the detective went on. When the investigation into the missing funds began, they likely feared everything would be exposed. So they dumped the evidence on our doorstep, I whispered. Their own grandchildren, except they weren't really. We'll need DNA samples from the children to establish their true identities. There may be biological families searching for them. I thought about Lily's science project on the refrigerator, Tommy's inhaler by his bed, Emma's unicorn collection. Their lives, their stability, their trusts, all built on lies. What happens to them now? My voice was barely audible. That's complicated, the detective admitted. Given the time they've spent in your care, the emotional bonds, and the legal adoptions, courts typically prioritize the children's well-being over biological claims. But you and your husband should prepare for a lengthy legal process. After hanging up, I sat in silence until James came home. The kids were at school, our last normal day before everything changed again. They found them, I said as he walked in. Dubai. $18 million. And the kids, James, the kids aren't. He held up his hand. I know, the detective called me first. I've already contacted our lawyers. What do we do? He sat beside me, taking my hands. We fight. Those are our children, not by blood, not by birth, but by choice, by love, by every nightmare soothed, every scraped knee bandaged, every homework assignment checked. Biology doesn't make a family, we do. Upstairs the walls were covered with 2 years' worth of family photos. School pictures, birthday parties, beach vacations. In every image, 3 children growing, healing, belonging. Robert and Margaret will be extradited, James continued. The company will recover. But those kids, they're ours. No judge, no DNA test, no biological family can change that. I heard the school bus outside. 3 voices calling goodbye to friends. 3 backpacks hitting the hallway floor. 3 pairs of feet running toward us. Mom, Dad, you'll never guess what happened at school today. I looked at James. Whatever storm was coming, we would weather it together. Because sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the one you're born into. And sometimes the greatest love stories aren't about romance, but about 3 children left on a doorstep and the parents who chose to keep them. The next few weeks became a blur of lawyers, social workers, and DNA tests. We decided to tell the children gradually, working with their therapists to find the right approach. But how do you tell 3 kids that everything they knew about their origins was a lie? The results are conclusive, Dr. Martinez, the genetic specialist, explained in her office. Lily appears to be of Russian descent, while the twins show strong Baltic markers, likely Lithuanian or Latvian. James gripped my hand as we looked at the charts, scientific proof that our children weren't who we thought they were. The doctor continued explaining genetic markers and geographical indicators. But my mind wandered to the homework I needed to check. Emma's dance recital next week, Tommy's asthma follow-up. There's something else, Dr. Martinez said gently. The twins, they're not actually twins. Emma is approximately 4 months older than Tommy. Another lie. Even their supposed twin bond had been manufactured. The investigation into Robert and Margaret's scheme revealed a dark network of child trafficking disguised as legitimate adoptions. They had paid nearly $300,000 per child, using early embezzled funds. Amanda, their troubled daughter, had been paid to pose as the mother. Your mother-in-law kept meticulous records, our lawyer, Michael Bennett, said, showing us files recovered from a Dubai safety deposit box. Every transaction, every forged document, every payment to Amanda. She was building herself an insurance policy. Against what? James asked. Against you, Michael replied. If the embezzlement was discovered, she could threaten to expose the children's true origins. She knew you'd do anything to protect them. But Margaret hadn't counted on Amanda's real disappearance, or perhaps that had been part of the plan too. The police were still trying to locate her in Mexico. The children's birth families were being traced through international agencies. Lilies might have been found, a young mother in St. Petersburg who had been told her baby died at birth. The twins' origins were more complicated, possibly involving multiple countries. One evening, as I helped Lily with her math homework, she looked up suddenly. Mom, are we in trouble? Why would you think that? There are lots of grown-ups coming to talk to us. And you and Dad whisper a lot. And yesterday at therapy, Dr. Sarah asked me about my first memories. 8 years old and too perceptive for her own good. I set down the pencil. We're not in trouble, sweetheart, but there are some things about our family that we need to talk about. Things that might be confusing or scary at first. Her face scrunched up. Is it about Grandma and Grandpa? Are they bad people? They made some bad choices, I said carefully. But the most important thing is that you, Tommy, and Emma are safe and loved. She was quiet for a moment. Jessica in my class is adopted. She says that means her first mom couldn't keep her. But her forever mom chose her specially. My heart swelled. That's right, and you know what? Dad and I chose you specially, too. But I thought, I know, honey, there's a lot we need to explain. But can you remember something? No matter what changes or what we learn, you are our daughter. Nothing will ever change that. She hugged me fiercely. Promise. Promise. That weekend we took the kids to their favorite beach. Watching them play in the waves, James and I discussed how to move forward. The Russian embassy is involved now, he said. Lily's potential birth mother wants to meet her. And the twins. 3 possible families identified so far. DNA tests are pending. I watched Emma bury Tommy's feet in the sand while he pretended to sleep like a mummy. 4 months apart in age, yet inseparable. Some bonds transcend biology. We're not giving them up, I said firmly. Never. But we need to be prepared for custody challenges, visitation requests. A shriek of laughter as Lily dumped a bucket of water on her siblings. 3 children who had already lost so much, finding joy despite it all. The next week, Robert and Margaret were arrested while trying to board a yacht in Dubai. The extradition process would take months, but their empire of lies was crumbling. James received a package from the Dubai police, Margaret's personal diary. Reading it felt like peering into a sociopath's mind. Found perfect specimens, one entry read, Amanda will play her part. James and his wife are too soft-hearted to turn away children in need. When the time comes, they'll pay anything to keep them. My husband threw the diary across the room. She was planning this for years. The kids were just pawns to her. But her plan had backfired. Instead of leverage, she'd given us the greatest gift, 3 beautiful children who needed love as much as we needed to give it. The media caught wind of the story. Sualivan SCANDGAO. STOLE and millions and TRIFFACKE children screamed the headlines. We hired security when reporters started camping outside the kids' school. Then came the interview requests, the book deals, the movie rights offers. Everyone wanted the salacious details of wealth, corruption, and stolen children. No, I told our lawyer, our children's trauma isn't for public consumption. Instead, we focused on healing. Family therapy twice a week. Open discussions about adoption, identity, and belonging. Creating new traditions while gently acknowledging the past. One night, I found Tommy sitting alone in the dark playroom. Can't sleep. I sat beside him. Mom, if I'm not really Emma's twin, why do I feel what she feels? What do you mean? Like when she's sad, my stomach hurts. And when she's happy, I know before she smiles. Isn't that a twin thing? I pulled him close. That's a love thing, buddy. Some people are just connected, not because they were born at the same time, but because their hearts recognize each other. He thought about this. Like you and me, we're connected even though you didn't have me in your tummy. Exactly like that. Emma appeared in the doorway, as if summoned by our conversation. Without a word, she curled up on my other side. Dad says we might meet our first families, she whispered. Only if you want to, and only when you're ready, I assured her. Will we have to leave? Never. You have enough love for many families, but this is your home. James found us all asleep in the playroom. A tangle of limbs, trust, and belonging. He covered us with a blanket and joined our pile, completing our imperfect, unbreakable circle. Because sometimes family isn't about shared DNA or matching birth certificates. Sometimes it's about choosing to love, choosing to stay, and choosing to fight for what matters most. And sometimes the greatest inheritance isn't what's in your blood, but what's in your heart. The day we met Lily's birth mother, the world felt as fragile as glass. Marina Petrova had flown in from St. Petersburg, a quiet woman with Lily's same golden hair and delicate features. Seeing them together made my heart ache with a complex mix of emotions. We prepared Lily as best we could. At 8, she understood more than we expected about her unusual situation. "She's the mom who couldn't keep me," Lily had asked that morning while I braided her hair. "Yes, sweetheart, she was very young, and some bad people lied to her. They told her you had died. That's why she never looked for me." "Exactly. But when she found out you were alive, she wanted very much to meet you." The meeting took place in our home, with a child psychologist present. Marina brought a photo album and a small wooden doll, a family heirloom she'd kept all these years, hoping somehow to give it to the daughter she thought was lost. "Здравствуй, Lily," Marina said softly. "I am very happy to meet you." Lily, usually so outgoing, hid partially behind me. But her curiosity won out. "Your hair looks like mine." Marina smiled through tears. "Yes, in my family, all the women have this color, like sunshine." For 2 hours, they carefully got to know each other. Marina showed pictures of Lily's biological grandparents, her half-sister in Russia, the hospital where she was born. Lily shared her school photos, art projects, and stories about her siblings. "You have good parents," Marina said to Lily, though looking at James and me. "They love you very much." "They're my forever family," Lily declared. "But maybe you can be my bonus mom." The term bonus mom had come from her therapy sessions, a way to make space for birth parents without threatening existing bonds. Marina understood. "I would be honored to be your bonus mom." Later, after Lily went to bed, Marina stayed to talk. Her story poured out, 19 and unmarried, pressured by hospital staff who were part of the trafficking ring, told her baby hadn't survived. Years of grief, only to discover the truth through an international investigation. "I don't want to disrupt her life," Marina assured us. "She is happy, loved. But perhaps visits, video calls, letters. We'd like that," James said. "Lily should know her heritage, her history. All our children should." The twins' situation proved more complicated. Emma's birth family was located in Latvia, a young couple whose baby was taken from a hospital. But Tommy's origins remained murky, his documentation leading to dead ends across multiple countries. "Sometimes these networks are too complex to unravel completely," our lawyer explained. "Tommy's early records may have been deliberately destroyed." Tommy took the news hard. "Everyone else knows where they came from. Even Emma isn't really my twin. I found him in the treehouse one afternoon, looking at old photos." "You know what I see in these pictures?" I asked. "What?" "A boy who belongs exactly where he is. Maybe we don't know your first story, but we know your most important story. It's written in every holiday memory, every family dinner, every midnight cover when you couldn't sleep." He leaned against me. "I wish I knew, though, about my first mom. She gave us the most amazing gift. And wherever she is, I hope she knows you're safe and loved." The media circus intensified when Robert and Margaret were finally extradited. Their trial would expose decades of financial fraud and connections to human trafficking. Amanda was found in Cancun, living under an alias. She'd agreed to testify against her parents in exchange for immunity. We kept the children away from the courthouse. But they knew their grandparents were in trouble. One night, Emma asked the question we'd been dreading. "Did Grandma and Grandpa buy us, like from a store?" How do you explain human trafficking to a 6-year-old? We settled on a simplified truth. "They did something very wrong," James explained. "They took you from your first families without permission, but sometimes wrong things lead to right endings, like how you became our children." The criminal trial lasted 3 months. Robert and Margaret Sullivan were sentenced to 25 years each. The judge called their actions a deplorable exploitation of innocent children for financial gain. But their conviction brought unexpected healing. The children no longer had to fear their grandparents showing up to reclaim them. Their home with us was now permanently legally secure. We established a trust for each child using the recovered funds to be used for education, therapy, or future connections with their birth families. The remaining money went to organizations fighting child trafficking. Marina moved temporarily to New York to be closer to Lily. The twins' birth families followed different paths. Emma's parents wanted regular contact but understood America was her home, while Tommy's history remained a loving mystery. One year after Marina's first visit, we hosted a special dinner. All three birth families or representatives, our children, their therapists, even Amanda, now sober and genuinely remorseful, gathered together. We called it our chosen family feast. The children performed a song they'd written. Some families grow from tiny seeds. Some families grow from love and needs. Some families find each other late. Some families are simply fate. But all families, when they're true, are built on hearts that choose and choose and choose. Watching them sing, I saw strength where there could have been trauma, love where there could have been loss. Three children who'd been bought as commodities, now priceless treasures in a family forged by choice. That night, as I tucked them in, each child had questions. Lily, can I learn Russian? Emma, will we visit Latvia someday? Tommy, are you sad you don't know my first mom? We'll learn Russian together, I told Lily. Latvia is part of your story, I assured Emma. Your first mom gave us a miracle, I whispered to Tommy. You. Later, James and I sat in our garden, looking at the stars. Remember that morning, he asked, when they were just dropped on our doorstep? Feels like another lifetime. We could have called social services, had them placed in the system, found out the truth sooner. We could have, I agreed, but then we wouldn't be us. This crazy, beautiful, chosen family. Inside, three children slept peacefully. Their paths to us had been twisted by lies and crime, but their futures stretched out, bright and true. Because sometimes the worst intentions can lead to the best outcomes. And sometimes the most precious things in life arrive unexpectedly on your doorstep at 6:43 a.m. on a Saturday morning. 5 years later, on the anniversary of that fateful doorbell ring, our family gathered for what had become our annual Choosing Day celebration. Lily, now 13, helped Emma and Tommy, both 11, hang decorations in the backyard. Marina had permanently relocated to New York, where she taught Russian literature at Columbia University. She'd married an American professor, giving Lily another bonus dad. Emma's Latvian parents visited twice a year, bringing stories and traditions from their homeland. Tommy, though he never discovered his origins, had found peace in the family he chose, and who chose him. The party was in full swing when an unexpected guest arrived. Amanda, clean and sober for 4 years, stood nervously at the gate. I brought pictures, she said softly, from before, when I first met them. The children who knew Amanda only as the woman who had once pretended to be their mother approached cautiously. She opened an album, showing photos from their earliest days in America. I was wrong, Amanda told them. So wrong to be part of what my parents did. But watching you three grow up, seeing the family you've become, sometimes wrong choices lead to right endings. Lily, ever the protector, spoke first. Did you know our first families? No, honey. I only knew you were special children who needed love. I just didn't know how to give it properly back then. The party continued, Marina teaching Russian dance steps, Emma's birth parents on a video call from Latvia, Tommy showing everyone his latest soccer trophy, a beautiful patchwork of chosen connections. Later that evening, as stars appeared, we gathered for our tradition. Each family member released a paper lantern into the night sky, carrying a wish. Lily's wish, for all families to find each other. Emma's wish, for love to always win. Tommy's wish, for everyone to know they belong. James's wish, for our family to keep growing stronger. My wish, for the healing to continue. The lanterns floated upward, carrying our hopes into the future. In prison, Robert and Margaret would never understand how their scheme for profit had created something priceless instead. A family bound not by blood or law, but by choice and love. Because sometimes the most beautiful stories start with a doorbell at dawn. And sometimes the greatest families are the ones we choose, again and again, every single day. As I watched our children chase fireflies in the gathering dusk, I remember that terrified morning 7 years ago. How could I have known that 3 abandoned children would become our greatest blessing? That lies would lead to truth, that loss would lead to love, that endings would become beginnings. The stars twinkled overhead, witnessing our joy as they had witnessed our tears and triumphs. Below, our chosen family danced, laughed, and loved, proving that sometimes the most precious things in life arrive unexpectedly, wrapped in challenges that become gifts. And in the end, isn't that what family really means?